Good morning, everyone. I wanted to have some conversations today that I might get a little bit of slack for. They might not be the popular opinion, especially in the brain retraining community, but I think they're important to talk about, and I think it's what kind of sets my beliefs on brain retraining apart from some of the other programs. So what I wanted to talk about is holistic lifestyle and the importance of taking care of our health on many different levels, not just cognitively and limbic system wise, but really bringing in the components of nature and spirit and what we eat, what we put in our bodies, the things we're around, and the fact that our world is really toxic in a lot of ways. So a big prompt for this is a lot of my work that I do with the eating disorder community and thinking about just the premise of intuitive eating. And I was watching an online webinar that Anthony Williams, medical medium, was doing the other day, and he was talking about how really there is no such thing as intuitive eating anymore because our food supply is so full of chemicals and preservatives and artificial flavors, and really the entire purpose of, diet soda, Splenda, fake sugar is tricking our brains and our bodies into thinking that we're eating sugar when we're not. And if you think about the whole purpose of any food you eat that says natural flavor, artificial flavor on there, it's tricking your body into thinking you're eating stuff that you're not eating. And what does that do to our brain when we know the power of visualization and the power of belief in our limbic system? What is that doing to us to be so disconnected from our food, from our sense of taste and our sense of intuition within our own bodies and what our bodies need? We know that when we crave certain things, it's usually because of a deficiency in our body. So craving chocolate, we need magnesium, craving whatever. There's a whole list that you can find online of all these things. If we're not giving ourselves the real thing, how are we really tricking our bodies? And how many deficiencies do we have that aren't getting addressed? It's really kind of scary to me, that isn't something we talk about more. And I think the other part of this that is concerning to me is in the brain retraining community. And again, I know this is just going to be one of those things some people agree with and some people get mad about. I started with DNRS, and a lot of the people doing that program are there for multiple chemical sensitivities. They're there for things like histamine intolerance, EMF sensitivities, mold sensitivities. And the focus of the program, rightfully so, is that these people, all of us, I've struggled with some of these things too, so that we can get back to normal life and that we're not as triggered by what seemingly should be an innocuous trigger in our environment. Something like being able to walk by an air freshener doesn't send us into a full-on, histamine reactivity state so that we can kind of live our lives the way we need to. But I have a little bit of an issue with the fact that some of the testimonials and some of these people who go through the training and the healing process feel like it's this huge victory when they can now go out and eat processed food and put air fresheners in their house, or feel like, oh yeah, mold doesn't bother me anymore. And it's great. It's great to have your limbic system in such a healed state that when you need to temporarily, you can be around things like that and not react. But I want to make sure we're not blurring the line between also having really grave concern about where we are in our society, that every single office building you go into, every single doctor's office you go into has like a Glade plug-in in the wall and has artificial fragrances blaring throughout. And the office building you work at, the school your kids go to school at, they're cleaning with industrial strength cleaners full of chemicals every day. And the walls are probably full of radon and mold. And you wonder why your kids come home sick. And you wonder why you get a migraine every Monday when you go to the office. No matter how much brain retraining we do, we're not going to make these substances magically better for us. So I think we have to also kind of honor that canary in a coal mine mentality. And I know they talk about this in DNRS, and I think they try to do a good job of explaining that these things still aren't good for any of us. But I don't think the focus so much should be on tolerating them and then forgetting they exist and then not advocating for change in our society anymore. And it's really been brought to light recently this week for me, hearing about all of the horrible things happening in Ohio and Arizona, South Carolina and Texas with these train derailments and chemicals on fire from trucks. And just thinking about how many people in these areas are going to be so sick, and not just from the toxicity of those chemicals themselves, but the limbic system injuries that are going to happen. And looking at people at the store this weekend just buying this junk, just drinking diet soda and eating everything that's just fake food, and looking that they don't look very healthy, and thinking about how sick, they are. And no one's addressing that. No one's addressing that there still are good and bad things in our environment. And yes, we shouldn't necessarily be having an overreaction to them. And our limbic system and our limbic system injuries play a huge role in how we react. But we also shouldn't have the goal of numbing down our reaction or blaming just ourselves and our limbic system for these reactions. Our goal should be now advocating for change on a larger global level to get rid of our ability in this country for companies to market poison to us as food and drink and body lotion and shampoo and cleaners. And, I know everyone's probably seen that infographic of the ingredients of a Big Mac in the United States at a McDonald's versus other countries that have banned most of those ingredients. And it is possible, we just don't do it. And there's a lot of reasons politically and economically that we don't do it. But if all we focus on is singularly our own healing and retraining, and we almost blame our own limbic system for these reactions rather than blame these big companies and the government and the misuse of labeling things as safe when they're not, we're never going to see real change. We're going to continue to see generation after generation having limbic system injuries, being sick all the time, dealing with chronic illness, dealing with so many medical issues related to unhealthy lifestyle. And I think it's something that we need to talk about more. And it's not to shame anyone that's eating those foods or using those products. Completely the opposite. It's to shame these big corporations who profit off of marketing this to people and who make money using poison. So again, I know it's not the popular thing to talk about. I know that we like to think nothing is really good or bad. We have to look at our environment as neutral and our limbic system as being the deciding factor. And I think the mind over matter works to a certain degree. And I do, want everyone who doesn't really have a choice but to work in a sick building or live in a sick home to have some success where you can still go out and have control over your limbic system, to be able to be around triggers sometimes and not overreact in your limbic system and not have these horrible reactions you're used to having. But I don't want it to become complacency. I don't want to see an entire new generation of people who think, well, there's nothing wrong with my environment. This is all my limbic system. It's my responsibility to retrain my limbic system so that I can live in this world that we're in, when in reality we need to be advocating for change on bigger levels. And maybe that starts small. Maybe that starts with growing some of your own food this year. Maybe that starts with calling OSHA if people in your workplace are getting sick, having them come in and test for mold and radon, and not just being complacent with, I guess that's how it is, I just have to work on my own healing journey more. Again, it's that kind of toxic positivity that I think we can fall into, also can turn into self-blame. So what do we do together to commit to more holistic lifestyles, to honor the fact that our body is warning us? Like we're in a really desperate situation here in the world, guys. Like there's poison everywhere, and corporations and the government don't care that we're getting poison from all sides. So again, it's brain retraining. Oh my gosh, now I can eat whatever I want. When I hear that, I kind of cringe a little, because I'm like, yeah, you don't want to be limited to 5 foods because you're having a MCAS reaction to everything else. However, if you then go back to just eating complete chemical processed garbage, you're also going to be creating probably another limbic system injury, or you're going to be creating other problems in your body. So again, I know it's unpopular to talk about, and some people have very different views on this. I know a lot of people in the limbic system healing community, the brain retraining community, that have recovered and then used holistic lifestyle to stay recovered. And then I know some that feel like, well, I recovered, now I do whatever I want. So I just wanted to address that, and let me know in the comments what you think. If you feel like your goal is to go back to your old life and pretend like nothing happened after healing, or if you're noticing a lot of scary things in our environment and in our world as part of your healing journey, and if that's motivating you now to make even bigger changes after and during your limbic system journey. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a nice day. I thought would enjoy a walk in the farm today, and yeah, let me know what you think. Bye.